Hello world, this is Jordan from Luck is a Skill. Hope you're all doing great. Today I'm just going to talk about a little game, give you like a perspective into my life and my likes, dislikes, such as that. And I hope that these videos can continue and that you'll enjoy watching them. Get a chance, give it a like, a comment, subscribe, whichever one makes you feel better. I like hearing your opinions and, I hope you like hearing mine. So without further ado, let's just dive into Battlezone 98. As the title says, the game came out in 1998. For me, I didn't buy it. I was around 6 or 7 at the time. Not a lot I could do then. Said, this is a game that my father bought. He got it at Circuit City, which if you don't know what Circuit City is, because, it's gone now, it was basically a Best Buy. And if Best Buy isn't around when you're looking at this video, which it is when it's being made, but who knows how the future looks, it's basically like an electronics store. If you went there, sometimes you'd go there, look at what you want, for the Best Buy version, and you just go on Amazon and you get it somewhere cheaper. Amazon, some online store. For Circuit City, that really was an option, because those things didn't exist in that big of a stance when this game came out. The internet was kind of just blossoming, so did what you did. There was no Steam that was just around to be like, hey, just download this and go about your day. No. You went to the store, you bought a CD, you put it on your computer by putting the CD in a disk drive, and then you just download it from there. It's fine. Enjoyed it. We were patient. Now it's a lot of instant gratification, but I digress. That's not what this is about. This is about the game. This was my first strategy game. This was my first first-person shooter. It was my first actual PC game. And I loved every single bit of it. It was so cool to just be looking at a game where you're in a space environment during a alternate reality for the Cold War, where you have the Americans with the NSDF and the Soviet Union with the CCA vying over this new element called biometal that is like a living metal that you can shape with your mind to create these different like materials, vehicles, weapons. And so from the point of the moon landing and everything, it was just basically being like, hey, we need to establish bases on the moon. We need to start looking around our entire solar system because this propels us into the future. And man, was it cool to see all those different vehicles and all those different weapons they had attached to them. It was so much fun to play this game, but it was not a simple game for a person that was like 6 years old and whose dad decided, I want to have the full experience, and bought like a full-on joystick. That joystick did everything. It led left, right, up, down, sideways, all those. It also had the trigger. It let you switch the weapon. The only things it didn't let you do was like jump and hop out of your unit, which those were assigned to different keys. Hop out of your unit was H and jump was E. Honestly, I might have switched those because E is usually an eject button for me, and H should have been hop, as in hop and jump. But that's not what happened. If I had been older at the time, I probably would have changed it. But you get used to stuff when you just have no idea what you're doing and that's your only option. So the game is really, really cool in the aspect of when you're going through it, it's like a first-person setting in space, and you're basically trying to defend yourself or attack these different units. As it was my first kind of foray into real-time strategy, or strategy at all, it was a little bit difficult to get the hang of trying to not only defend yourself, but also to defend your units and your base. The game had two things that were going to be defeat conditions, for the most part. Your death, or your factory's death. Either of those, game's over. Anything else, you can generally power your way through and get through. The mission objectives you could do as long as you had your factory or yourself. Losing those meant you just didn't make it. That's just how it was going to roll. Can't really rebuild a recycler, and you can't really rebuild a you. And I probably did call it a factory unit, but no, there's like a difference. There is a factory and there's a recycler. Factories build more of your main units, whereas recyclers build more of your utility units, like your scavengers for the biometal, your turrets for a little bit of defense, and scouts to basically scout around. This was a really intricate system, and if you're looking at the screen and seeing how many buttons are around, all the 1, 2, 3, 4, imagine clicking 1, and that is like all of your one type of unit, and then it has another list of all those units, and you have to click the button again to select that unit, and then be like, okay, go there and do that, or go there and do that. And then you could also go into like a overhead perspective where you could still control your main unit, but you also would be able to glide across the field and just go and be like, you go here, you go here, you go here. If you didn't have radar for it, you wouldn't see what's over there. You'd send some scouts over to view it, but if you did, then you'd be like, I can strike here now. You had nav beacons. It was really, really cool. And at the time, being a kid and it being coming out at that time, I didn't realize how much functionality it had until I got older and I got to replay it. Like for me, that re-experience in the Redux does make it so it's just a brand new game and it gives me a higher appreciation. Because the only thing the Redux really does is it added mod support and it fixed up textures and it did some sound design. Everything else is basically the same. It's the same game I played, it's just a better experience for those who didn't have it, and it's a better experience for those who did and just are wanting something that just updated and they can play over and over again. Because at that time, the only way to play it was like a compatibility mode, and that's kind of gone, so this was it. If it hadn't come out again, this would just basically be lost to time. Forever. So yay! But if I'm just going to talk about it, I'm just going to talk about it because I do love it. It's not just the fact that I got to play this game, it's the fact that I got to experience the game. The experience of actually having a game where it's not just you are a US person or a Soviet person, there are advantages and disadvantages to the units you pick. No unit is good in all categories. They do specialize in certain things. Scouts are fast, but they have weak ammo. Tanks are slower, but they have a lot of actual utility with the ammo types and the weapons they have. Walkers are super slow, but they will decimate anything that's like slow moving because that's their job. Artillery has to place itself and can shoot long ranges, but anything else, it'll be knocked down in a second. And it's not just the unit types, it's also the faction types. For the NSDF, you have a lot of good weaponry, but lighter armor, so you can punch hard, but you're a glass cannon most of the time. The only thing that balances that out is the CCA has weaker weapons, but they have better armor. So if you're going with them, yeah, it might take a lot of shots to take something down, but you'll probably survive long enough that you can actually tough it out. It makes it so one side is really good for basically run and gun kind of situations, like just 1,000 cut scenarios, and the other one's just like, no, blitz them over and just power your way through. And I think that was really cool, and understanding that now more than I did then is such a cool thing. I don't think it's one of those things you don't really get to experience as much, because generally when you get a remake, it's been 10 years or so, maybe 5, and the only thing that's been upgraded is graphics. This one was the same thing, but the perspective, the perception I had as a child is so much different than I have as an adult. And so I can appreciate all the nuances that go into it more now than I did then. And that's not to say that I didn't appreciate it then. There were aspects of the game I just couldn't beat, and I would have to ask my father to help me, and he'd be there and he'd show me how to go about it. It wasn't like he'd just sit there and beat it for me. He'd actually show me how to go about it. And I would learn, and I developed a sense of patience from that, so I am appreciative of that also for the game. So yeah, this game with its design, with all its little intricacies, it really did show me and really grew a love for not just strategy, but real-time strategy, turn-based. It grew a love of the sci-fi genre itself with how much you can get into, and it also grew a sense of like story-based games. Like this was one of those games that was a full-on story. It had lore, it had backgrounds, it had history to what was going on, why it was happening, and I loved every aspect. And so for a video, I thought I'd just show this so I could be like, hey, I hope you also see this and you can love it. You may be able to tell me why you don't love it, why you do love it. I think it's just good to be able to talk about, what makes me me. And this is one of those things that does make me me. It's why I choose certain genres. It's why I play certain games. and I don't think that's bad. I mean, everyone's got those, so hope you really enjoyed this. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for giving up your time so I could just ramble on in what may have been not so coherent, but was just filled with passion in the actual subject matter. Yeah, I hope you all have a great day.